Hello and welcome back to my channel. We are going to work on this today for Flosstube, what is it, 7. So I wanted to kind of show you, especially for those of you who are new, how this works. So I've been stitching for probably 45 years and counted cross stitch probably 40 years. Anyway, I'm aging myself, but this is for those of you who are advanced. This gives you more of a graph here. So with these kind of symbols and the Highland cow, which is what we're going to do. This is actually going to be for a friend of mine. So, but for beginners, I wanted to kind of do it a twofold thing. For beginners, this is like color by number. Okay, so if you don't want to do that, if you just want to count, you can do that too. Now, don't let the colors fool you. This is like the pink, obviously, is going to be white. So I started stitching a little bit so you can see. And you have the color right here, and then you have numbers 1 through 28 right there, okay? And what those numbers mean are these right here. So this kit comes with numbers 1 through 28. So if we know we're working on the hot pink right here, which is what I'm currently working on, we go to the chart and we see this is a lighter pink, and it's also symbols, but like this is a really light pink, and then a darker pink here. Okay, and then you know it's DMC 3865, and so if I ever run out that color that they provide me with, I know what to replace it with. So we know that number 28 is the number that we will need, which is this white, and it's not just regular white, it's going to be an off-white. Okay, so we know that this is what it's referring to. I think I said pink earlier. I didn't mean that. It's just the color that they chose, and they did that. The reason why they didn't make this white, because then you wouldn't be able to see where your stitches are. So I like the contrast there. So that's what I wanted to show you. And I keep all of that. I keep track of all this, what I'm currently doing right now. And I know those of you who love journaling too is going to ask me about this. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. This is Happy Hollow Farms' newest journal cover. So it's very nice size. So this chart, what these numbers here mean is for every inch, it tells you how many squares there are. So this is 8 o'clock, 11, and that means 11 of these squares per inch, okay? So I know this is about an inch, okay, as we go here, but it counts it by 10s, 20, 30. It counts it by 10s for you, just to give you a better idea of how many stitches that you're doing, especially if you want to go off of this chart here, okay, which is a lot smaller. I like to jot notes down to kind of keep everything organized and know where I'm going with this. So like this right here is 3, so I'm just going to write 4 is equal to DMC 436, okay? DMC, and this is for the Highland cow. Highland cow and sunflower cross stitch, okay? So that's what this is for. And like I said, this just keeps me organized, but I can do this at a different time. I just wanted to show you this book. Some of you ask how I keep my things organized, and this is how I do it. So I jot everything down. I don't use my phone because my phone has I I entertain myself with my phone while I'm stitching. I'll watch YouTube videos or whatever on my phone, and I don't have to keep going back and forth. I'd rather have this right here. So that is what I am using this for. And in case you're wondering, I do all sorts of little storytelling and journaling and things like that. So I kind of use it for everything, really, but I love my journal. So anyway, and I will have the link below because I know tons of you have been asking me about my journal covers, and I will have that link below for this one. And like I said, I can't say enough about this one. Okay, so let's get back to the project here. And I am not going to use this chart only because I want to show you how I stitch, okay, using this colored color by number type thing. Now, actually, this is the first time I've used this since I was a little girl, probably, because I do counted cross stitch. But let me tell you, even those of you who are watching this who are seasoned stitchers, this is a game changer for me, this color code, because I can sit here and stitch. Whereas before, if I would do, I gotta get my glasses here, y'all. I'm old here. If I were to do this before, I would have to count, and I wouldn't be able to talk, and I still can't talk. You know how that goes. I would have to talk and try to do this at the same time, and that's just impossible. Now I can just sit here and talk and watch a movie, and I can stitch away. That's what I like. So what I'm going to do is the Danish style going down, and I will try to keep this in frame, trying to get this to where I can see it. There we go. And I'm going to adjust my glasses here. There we go. So, and you know what? It would probably help if I had more light. I think I got it here. Anyway, as I was saying, I learned how to count cross stitch years ago by my mother. My grandmother taught me how to embroider, and I've been embroidering a little bit longer. I remember she was making a little embroidery. It was a little towel, and I think I still have it. I'll have to show you guys. I'll have to dig it up and see. But she was stitching a little towel, and I wanted to finish it. And back then, we had little towels that said Sunday through Saturday, like Sunday's washing or church or resting or whatever. And then Monday, do the dishes. And it was really cute. It was kind of like little tea towels that had chores on them. Well, they were pre-printed. And so my grandmother taught me to embroider just by going over the print. So she said, instead of using your crayon, use your thread to do that. So that's how I learned to embroider. And then we'll jump ahead a few years. And my mother was really into cross stitching. And that was really popular in the 70s and 80s, and it's made a huge comeback, I've noticed as well lately, so which I think is really cool. But it looks so difficult for me. She would sit there and she would count, and like I said, I think I was a preteen or maybe a teenager by this point. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, she would sit there and she would grab this and she would count, and she'd count, and then she'd go, okay, so that's 10 across plus 1 over, and then she'd go over here, and then she'd see B, and then she'd look this up, and she says, oh, okay, that's a symbol for 945, DMC 945. And then she'd get out her threads, and they had DMC back then. And she'd get out and she'd pull out the 945 floss. And then she would get there and she would change her threads and make the little marks where she would do, I'm just giving you this as an example. She didn't use this chart, but I'm using this as an example. And she would get this out and stitch all these. And then she would get back to her other thread. And I thought, how does she know on, if it's not coded, what to do? And she taught me that you count. So you would count how many stitches, how many of these blocks. So see, every one of these, when I say a block, like this is a square, okay? I would cross this. When I go back up, I'll cross it. But every one of these, there's 10 of these per inch, okay? Or 14 if it's 8 of 14 count. So that's kind of how you know. And if it's like 18 in an inch, which is a lot smaller, obviously, if there's 18 of these squares in an inch, then you know it's 8 a cloth or whatever cloth, 18 count. So when you see that count, you'll know what it's referring to. So anyway, she would teach me all that, and I would sit there and I remember watching her, and I was really little, and I would just mesmerize because I knew I liked to embroider. And I'd put down embroidery for a while, because I was a child and I wanted to go out and play with dolls and things like that. And and I'll get back to the story. Hang on. I got to tell you, my granddaughter, she's 3 and she loves this. So I have sweet little videos of her learning how to stitch. And I'm teaching her, I'm starting out teaching her embroidery. And I gave her a hoop. And hang on, I've got to show you this. Hang on. I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay, look what she did. This is her little stitch, and this is what she did. And I taught her how to go across. She started doing these real long stitches, and I said, baby, if you do it short, they won't get tangled and caught in anything. So she did it, and I helped her with the knots, and of course she put them on the front side. And this is so special to me. Her favorite color is purple, and this is very special to me. So I gave her a very blunt needle, okay? Blunt means it's real flat you can't poke yourself. See, I'm going pretty hard. And because at first I gave her a tapestry needle, and it was way too thick, and she was fumbling with it, and she did really good. And she's 3, sorry about that. She's 3, but she'll be 4 here in a month. So I had the best time. So I have memories of my grandmother doing that with me, and my mother, and I was looking for that towel too. I've got it somewhere. I'll have to find it and show you. It's the sweetest little towel that I did, and I can't believe I still have it. So it's one of those priceless things. And it's been through house fire. It's been through so much. I'm surprised I still have it. Anyway, my mother was doing some kind of geese picture, and I still have that. And it was a little shepherd woman, and she was getting these geese in a row, with their little staff and everything. It was the sweetest picture. But I loved how my mother decorated. And that picture hung in our house for years and years. But I remember watching her make it, and I fell in love with cross stitch then. And then we'll skip down to my senior year of high school. My senior year of high school, I had a very bad car accident, and I went through the windshield, and it wasn't my fault, but I hit somebody head on. I had a head-on collision, so they were turning left, and instead of turning into their lane, over here, they turned right into my lane and smashed. And so I had to be tutored my whole senior year. And I picked back up, not only counted cross stitch, but knitting as well. And I learned how to knit, and I made myself some sweaters and everything. And my tutor counted that like a home ec credit, because back then you had to have that, and then a PE credit because I couldn't do any physical activity. But she says, well, your hands are busy, so we'll just keep it at that, in an art. And I had so much fun learning to do that. And it stuck with me all these years. I just kept doing it, and I got married after high school. I got married, and still very happily married. And I just have done it ever since. So now I have grandchildren that I'm teaching, and I am teaching them, well, my granddaughter, how to do that. Of course, my grandsons aren't interested, but they're interested in the Christmas stockings I made for them. So for sure, you know. So I made Christmas stockings, kind of cross-stitch Christmas stockings, and I've kept up with it. Been doing it ever since. So my granddaughter has been watching me, and it's the sweetest thing. And here she is picking this up generations later. So anyway, I was going to show you, I don't know if you watched me do that if you're new here. I have lots of short tutorials on how to end your thread and how to thread your needle and all that fun stuff. So if you want to get back with that, you can, if you want to refer to that. But I haven't showed y'all this, not this here, I'm about to thread a needle, but I haven't showed you, I showed you the loop start method, and did I get all that? Y'all, I need my glasses on. But I haven't I've showed you the loop start method, words are hard, but I haven't showed you this newest trick that I forgot to show you. And when I say new, it's new to y'all, it's not new to the community, I'm sure. But I love doing it this way, and I totally forgot about it. So, okay, so let's just pretend my X's are crossed here. So what you do is you pick up some of these threads here. Do you see that? Okay, anyway, you start from the top, and this keeps knots and everything away from the back of your fabric, okay? You don't really want to knot your threads if you can keep from it. So I pull it just up to the edge here, right under there. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing these threads. See, this one will go this way. It's just like a weave. And then of course this one goes that way. So anyway, I get my stitches right to the edge, and then I take my needle right through the middle and pierce it, okay? And that is how I've been starting my cross stitch, because I would do the loop method, but this, because it's such a large, this is 8 o'clock 11, so that means, remember, 11 squares per inch. It is so large that 2 strands or an even number of strands won't fill this all the way. And by the way, I'll get back with that, okay? By the way, this is all washable. So once you're done with your project, this washes right off. You just soak it in water. Anyway, so I couldn't loop it, because to do a loop, you have to have an even amount of threads, okay? And I have 3, because this is larger, and the instructions told me to use 3. So, and I don't like to do knots, so that's how I start my stitches when I have an odd number. Now, if I'm just doing 1 strand, there's a tutorial on how I do that as well. And it's not like this, and it's not the loop method, but you'll just have to go look for it. It's in my playlist on tutorials for beginners or something. I forgot the name of it, but it's in that playlist, and it's really cool. So I have all sorts of tips and tricks to show you guys, but see how, I mean, that's very secure. And then you don't have any ugliness on the back. See, you just have nice even stitches. So that's how I start this one. Okay, what was I talking about? I was talking about my grandmother, mom, something, and I went through the wrong hole. So, oh, I know what I was going to talk about too, and this wasn't what I remembered. You know, I'm going to go back and edit this and think, I didn't finish this story. That's how my mind works. What I was going to talk about, okay, so most people, okay, back in my day, they taught us how to go top left to top right as the first stitch. Now, all tutorials show you to go from top right to bottom left, okay? It doesn't matter. Let me tell you why. What matters is to make sure all your stitches, like all your bottom stitches, just like this. Okay, I'm just finishing this stitch, okay? I'm skipping all over the place. But make sure your first stitches go all in the same direction. Okay, I just do top left down to bottom right because I figure I read from left to right. I can't do this way. I don't know why. I can't retrain myself. Back in the day, magazines and things like that, all the little magazines and little tutorials, that's how they taught us. And so I've done it like this for years and years, so you probably wonder, why in the world am I going in the opposite direction from everyone else? That is why, because I am doing the old-fashioned, very old-fashioned way. This is how they used to do it a long time ago. And this right here is called over fabric stitching. I can't think of the correct terminology here, but that's when you just go in like this instead of going and pulling and then up and pulling and down. Okay, I just do it all on the top. So that's how I like to stitch. Right now I'm just crossing these real quick so I can get back in sync. Like I said, I can't talk and chew gum at the same time, so this is actually a challenge for me, and I didn't feel like giving y'all another hurry up and speed up video, you know, speed this part up and then talk again, and because I thought you guys may just want to hear how I got started and how I learned, and maybe for those of you who are older, maybe you can relate to some of the ways, or maybe you've seen somebody who stitches top left to bottom right at first. And y'all, my next investment is going to be a hoop that will keep everything still and keep me from doing this so you guys can watch. So this is actually very far from me. I usually stitch really up close, like you guys are my eyes. That's how close I stitch because I am so nearsighted, it's not even funny. If I don't have my glasses, I have to take my glasses off to see because I have like microscopic almost, you know, vision. I'm just that nearsighted. So this is a challenge for me to do it this way. But anyway, I just thought you'd be interested in how I started stitching and all that other stuff. Now this project here, I don't handle color very well. I don't like a lot of color, so this is like driving me mad, but it's actually soothing in a way too because I don't have to sit here and count. I can watch things, I can talk to people, I can have a good conversation and just stitch. I don't have to worry about it. I just follow the little pink graph here for this white. That makes so much sense, doesn't it? But I explained that. So anyway, I never have been one. I used to be a person who decorated with a lot of color in my house. And I painted, this was really popular in the 90s. I painted my kitchen red, and our mascot was the Cardinals, so I had to have everything red and black. And y'all, it took me maybe 3 months and I was ready to get rid of the red. I was so tired of it. And then I tried navy blue and all these colors, and I just couldn't deal with it. I remember when I was little, my mother painted my room yellow, and she got me, because yellow was my favorite color, and she got me a yellow satin comforter for my bed. I had a water bed back then. Those were really popular. And I had her old one because she got herself a new one. And so I had this yellow satin comforter and everything was yellow. And I remember getting really tired of yellow very quickly. But I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, because we grew up kind of poor, and I knew, and my mother was a single mother, and I knew that she worked very hard for all of that. And yes, the bed was a hand-me-down, and yes, the comforter was a hand-me-down, but I loved it, and I knew that she had bought me some new sheets though, and I knew she worked really hard for it. And so I didn't have the heart to tell her I was tired of the yellow. And when I first got married, I got married in 1988, and the colors were mint green and peach, or mauve and blue. I remember those were very, very popular colors. And I kept changing my decor really quick. I noticed I got really tired. I painted my whole house, the inside of my house walls, peach. Can you imagine? My poor husband. And then we did Southwest, and the peach kind of worked with that because I had all terracotta pots and peach clay pots and things like that. And anyway, and then I got into this country sampler magazine was getting really popular and famous. So then I did that, and that worked out really well with my cross stitch. So I made all these little cross stitch teddy bears, and sitting in the school, and sitting in the school desk with the chalkboard, and and all those cute little images and things. And it was very country, and lots of sunflowers and things like that. And it's funny how we're all going back to kind of that. Instead of a teddy bear, it's a Highland cow. But anyway, I remember what I was going to talk about now, speaking of the cow here. Let me explain that. See how my mind works? I'll tell you. Okay, I'll go back to the peach house story. I will remember. This right here is a very good friend of mine. She goes to church with me. I am a elder's wife, and she's also an elder's wife, and she loves Highland cows. So I am making this for her for Christmas, and she also loves sunflowers. So that's why I'm getting this done. And I thought, well, this little paint by number or stitch by number, not number, but you know what I mean. I call it, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I thought it would be a lot quicker, because if this was kind of cross stitch, this would take me months. Okay, back to the peach house. So that's what I was going to tell you. I forgot to tell you about that. So all these years I changed my decor, and then we sold that house and we got a rental house, and I couldn't paint the walls. That was part of our rental agreement. And so I lived with white or kind of off-white walls, and I could decorate any way I wanted, and I just remember that. And I loved it, but still, color was such an in thing in the 90s. So I watched Christopher Lowell, and he was always like, don't be afraid to paint your walls, and and of course that's gone back. I mean, color, people paint their walls all the time. That's never gone out. But in my mind, in my heart, it went out really quick. you know, I just couldn't live with it. So let's fast forward to the year of 2020 when the pandemic happened and all that stuff. Well, I decided, that's when I really got into Instagram and things like that. And the real popular color, I put that in quotes, was white. Everybody did white, chippy white, and all that. And I loved it, and I still do. Maybe not so much as the chip stuff, but I learned that having an all white house or cream, you know, woods and whites, I could decorate any way I wanted to and just use the color for accent color. And so that's what I did. And I don't know what got me on this tangent. Maybe it was this Highland cow and all this color. But anyway, it's like soothing for me to color over this pink with this white. Is that not crazy, y'all? I think I need help. Anyway, so that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So let me see how long have we been doing this? I have no idea, but I know I've been on here, 30 minutes. Okay, you guys, I will work on this with you as much as possible. I know my floss tubes have been that wreath sampler I've been doing, but I've really got to get this done too, and I promise I will get back to the wreath sampler. But I wanted to stitch with you and kind of show you what all I'm doing. I also love to knit, and maybe one of these days I will show you how I knit. And yeah, just teach you all things sewing, because that's what I love to do. And journaling and all that. I love all that stuff. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this chat session, and follow me. If you're not following me, please give me a follow and you will see more of this, and click on that notification bell and you'll be notified of all my new little crazy projects that I've got going on and tutorials and things like that. But thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys next Friday.